Get comfortable. Close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and let it out slowly. Leave behind the noise of the modern world, the humming of the refrigerator, the distant traffic, the blue glow of your phone screen. Set it all down. You don't need it right now. Right now, you are safe. Right now, you are going on a journey. Not through space, but through time. Imagine yourself sitting in the most perfect time machine ever conceived. It doesn't rattle, it doesn't shake. There is no roaring engine, no violent lurching. It simply carries you, gently, like a leaf floating down a quiet, endless river. The years begin to fall away from you like pages torn from a calendar and carried off by a warm breeze. We are moving backward. 1 second ago, it was our century. Then 100 years vanished. Then 1,000. Time begins to flow faster now, the quiet stream turning into a deep, powerful current. You see the world below you changing. The ice caps of the last ice age swell and shrink like white lungs breathing over the poles. You watch the rise and fall of the first human civilizations. Tiny clusters of light flickering on the dark skin of the earth, appearing and vanishing in the span of a heartbeat. The continents themselves are shifting, drifting apart like slow-motion puzzle pieces. 10 million years pass, 20, 30, and then, 40 million years ago, something begins to change in the landscape below. The familiar shapes of modern forests start to dissolve, replaced by something older, stranger, more primal. The trees grow taller, the forests grow denser. The geometry of the world begins to look different. We slow down. 50 million years, 55, 60, and then, gently, so gently you barely feel it, the machine comes to rest. We have arrived. You are now 66 million years in the past. We are in the Mesozoic era, specifically in the late Cretaceous period, but not at the very end, not at the moment of the great catastrophe. We have arrived a few million years before that, in a time of absolute, breathtaking abundance. A time when the dominant creatures on this planet had ruled uninterrupted for over 100 million years. The era we humans call the Age of Dinosaurs. Look through the wide, transparent window of our machine. There is no glass between you and this world, but you are invisible here, untouchable. Like a quiet thought drifting through a dream. Nothing can see you, nothing can harm you. You are perfectly, absolutely safe. Now, look at what lies before you. It is a forest, but it is unlike any forest you have ever seen. It feels alien, yet deeply alive. The trees are enormous, araucarias, tall as 20-story buildings, with perfectly straight, pillar-like trunks that rise like the columns of an ancient cathedral, crowned with clusters of dark, stiff needles. Beneath them, towering ginkgo trees spread their fan-shaped leaves, leaves that look exactly like delicate green fans, fluttering in the warm breeze with a sound like whispered paper. And at ground level, ferns. Not the small, delicate ferns you might find in a modern garden, but monstrous things, as tall as a person, unfurling their long, fractal fronds like green fountains frozen mid-splash. The air here is thick, dense. It feels almost liquid like warm soup. The humidity is incredible. Every breath coats your lungs with moisture, and the smell, oh, the smell is extraordinary. It is the scent of deep, raw earth, rich, dark, waterlogged soil. It is the sweet, heavy perfume of rotting vegetation and new growth happening simultaneously. It is the sharp, clean, resinous tang of conifer sap, like the smell of a brand new forest after rain, multiplied 100-fold. It is the smell of a planet that is truly, intensely alive. And the air itself is different. There is more oxygen in it than you are used to. Not dangerously more, but enough to make your head feel slightly light. Your limbs feel warm and relaxed. Your thoughts feel soft and slow. Every breath you take here feels like a gentle sedative. You could fall asleep standing up in this air, and that's all right. That's exactly what this journey is for. Listen carefully now. Is it silent? No, not at all. The Mesozoic night is full of sound. You hear the continuous electric hum of cicadas, but these are not the cicadas you know. These are ancient, primordial things, and their song is deeper, louder, more resonant, like 1,000 tiny violins playing a single, eternal note. You hear the rhythmic chirping of crickets. You hear the soft, papery rustle of those giant fern leaves rubbing against each other in the breeze. And if you listen very, very closely, past the insects, past the wind, you can hear something else. Something far away, many miles to the east. A deep, rhythmic, booming sound. Thud, thud, thud. Like a giant beating a leather drum buried in the earth. Those are footsteps. Something unimaginably large is walking through the forest in the distance. But we are not afraid. We are just listeners here, just quiet observers in the dark. Let's descend lower, down through the canopy, past the feathery green branches, past the thick trunks, down into the undergrowth. Gently now. Settle down among the ferns, right at ground level. Here, in the warm, dark earth, something small is moving. Look, there, under that fallen log, a tiny creature, no bigger than a rat, is cautiously poking its pointed snout out of a hole in the ground. It has sleek, dark fur and 2 bright, black eyes that shine in the fading light. It twitches its nose, its whiskers vibrating, reading the air like a blind man reading Braille. This is a mammal. Yes, mammals already exist. They have been living in the shadows of the dinosaurs for nearly 100 million years. This little creature is your ancestor, your great, infinitely great-grandmother. She is terrified. She knows that the world above her belongs to giants, and that a single misstep could mean her death. She darts out, grabs a fallen seed, and vanishes back into her burrow in a flash of brown fur. Safe, hidden, alive. There is something deeply comforting about watching her, isn't there? She knows the secret of survival. She knows that the safest place in a dangerous world is a small, warm, dark space where no one can find you. Just like you, lying in your bed, under your blanket, in your quiet room. You are that little mammal. You have the same instinct. You have found your burrow for the night. And now you can rest. Now, lift your gaze. Slowly, past the ferns, past the fallen logs, up toward the edge of the forest, where the last crimson rays of the setting sun are slanting through the tree trunks like red laser beams, cutting through the gathering dusk with long, dramatic shafts of light. And there, silhouetted against that dying light, are shapes. At first they look like strange, heavy statues. Stone monuments come to life by some ancient magic. They are enormous. They move with a slow, deliberate grace that seems almost underwater, as if the air itself is too thin to support their weight, and they are permanently wading through an invisible ocean. Their silhouettes are unmistakable. Long, sweeping necks, massive, rounded bodies supported by 4 pillar-like legs, tails that stretch out behind them like the tails of comets. These are sauropods, the largest animals to ever walk the surface of the earth. There are 5 of them, a small family group moving slowly along the edge of the tree line, heading toward the river we saw from above. They are probably Alamosaurus, or something very much like them. Giants of the Cretaceous, descendants of the even larger Brachiosaurus and Argentinosaurus that roamed the earlier periods. but these are large enough. The largest one in the group, a mature female, perhaps 60 or 70 years old, stands roughly 40 feet tall at the shoulder. Her neck alone is longer than a school bus. When she lifts her head to the treetops, her skull is higher than a 5-story building. She weighs perhaps 30 tons. 30 tons of living, breathing, gentle flesh moving through the forest with the quiet patience of a cloud. Watch her for a moment. Really watch her. Notice the way she walks. Each step is a slow, calculated event. Her front left foot lifts. A foot as wide as a dinner table, moves forward through the ferns, flattening them silently, and comes down with a deep, soft thud that you feel in your chest more than you hear with your ears. Thud. Then the right rear foot. Thud. Then the right front. Thud. The left rear. Thud. It is a rhythm, a heartbeat, the pulse of something so large it has ceased to be an animal and has become almost a geological event. Like watching a mountain decide to go for a walk. And yet, for all her size, there is a delicacy to her. Notice her neck. It is impossibly long, held not stiffly straight ahead, but in a gentle S-curve, like the neck of a swan, but scaled up to the size of a construction crane. At the end of that neck is a relatively small head, almost comically small for such a body, with large, gentle, dark eyes and a broad, flat muzzle. She is stripping branches from an araucaria tree as she walks. Her teeth, not the sharp, dagger-like teeth of a predator, but simple peg-like things, good for raking and stripping, work methodically. She grabs a branch, pulls it through her mouth, strips the needles clean, and moves on. She doesn't even stop walking. She grazes the treetops the way a cow grazes a meadow, a cow that weighs as much as 6 elephants. She is a vegetarian, a peaceful giant. And watching her, you feel something unexpected. You feel calm. There is something deeply soothing about the presence of a creature this large and this slow. In our modern world, everything is fast. Everything is urgent. Notifications, deadlines, alarms, traffic. But this creature knows nothing of urgency. She has been alive for 60 years. She will likely live another 20 or 30. She takes each day as it comes. She eats, she drinks, she moves with her family, she sleeps. Her life is a single, unbroken, slow-motion meditation. And just being near her, even in your imagination, some of that slowness transfers to you. Your heart rate drops, your breathing deepens, your muscles unclench. You are in the presence of something ancient, and it is making you feel ancient too. Still, quiet. Look at the others in her group. Behind her, slightly to the left, walks a younger animal, perhaps her offspring. It is already the size of a large house, but compared to the adult, it looks almost delicate. Its movements are slightly less assured, slightly more erratic. It occasionally breaks away to nibble at a lower branch, then hurries to catch up, its long neck bobbing like a periscope. Behind them, 2 more adults bring up the rear, their massive bodies casting shadows long enough to swallow entire groves of ferns. And at the very back, lagging behind, is the smallest member of the group, a juvenile, no more than a few years old. It is only the size of a rhinoceros. It stays close to one of the adults, occasionally bumping its small head against the adult's massive thigh, as if checking that she is still there. She is. She always will be. Sauropods were almost certainly social animals, living in family groups, protecting their young. There is love here. Quiet, slow, prehistoric love. A mother that would crush any predator underfoot to protect her child. A child that feels safe because it knows its mother is larger than anything that could ever threaten it. Let them pass. They are heading to the river to drink for the night. We will follow them later. For now, let the darkness settle in fully. The sun has gone down. The red light has faded from the sky, replaced by a deep, velvety indigo. And above you, oh, above you, look up. This is something you have never seen in your life. Not really, not like this. The Mesozoic sky at night is not our sky. There is no light pollution here. No distant orange glow of a city on the horizon. No satellites. No airplane lights blinking. There is nothing between you and the cosmos but thin, moist air. And the stars, my God, the stars. They are not twinkling pinpricks, they are blazing. They are jewels set in black velvet, each one sharp and bright and fiercely white, surrounded by a subtle halo of color, blue, red, gold. Because the atmosphere here is so clean, so pristine, that even the faintest colors of the stars are visible to the naked eye. The Milky Way does not look like a faint, milky smudge, the way it does from most places on modern Earth. It looks like a river, a luminous, flowing river of light arcing across the entire sky from one horizon to the other, so bright that it actually casts faint shadows on the ground. You can see the dark dust lanes within it, the dense clouds of interstellar gas, the brighter knots where star clusters glow like spilled diamonds. It is overwhelming. It is the most beautiful thing you have ever seen. And you realize, with a sudden quiet awe, that this is the sky that every dinosaur that ever lived looked up at. This is the sky that the tiny mammal in her burrow saw when she peeked out of her hole. This is the sky that was here before us, before everything. A sky so vast and so indifferent that it makes all of human history seem like a single heartbeat. Breathe it in. This silence, this darkness, this ancient starlight falling on your face. But the night is not entirely silent, is it? As your eyes adjust to the darkness and the stars above blur slightly from your relaxed, half-sleeping gaze, you become aware of new sounds around you. The insects have changed their chorus. The daytime cicadas have gone silent, replaced by a different cast of nighttime musicians. Crickets chirp in complex, lopin patterns, not random, but rhythmic, almost musical, like a tiny orchestra tuning up in the darkness. Frogs have begun to sing from the margins of the nearby swamp, deep, resonant croaks that echo across the still water, punctuated by higher, trilling calls from smaller species perched on lily pads. There is a sound like a soft, repetitive clicking, perhaps some kind of ancient beetle tapping on a log to attract a mate, a tiny drummer in the dark. And then, a new sound, closer, much closer, a low, rumbling cough, like the sound a lion makes when it is resting and exhaling deeply, but deeper, rougher, more guttural. It comes from somewhere to your right, no more than 50 meters away, just beyond a thick stand of ferns and cycads. Your body tenses for a moment. That ancient mammal instinct, the one that whispers, "Danger," in the dark. But remember, you are invisible. You are safe. You are just a ghost in the night. So instead of fear, let yourself feel curiosity. Let yourself lean into the darkness and listen. Another rumble. And then the sound of heavy weight shifting, a soft crunch of vegetation being compressed, a long, slow exhale that sounds like steam escaping from a pipe. Something large is lying down in the ferns just beyond your sight, something that has been awake all day and is now settling in for the night. You hear it shift its body, a series of deep, grinding sounds, like tectonic plates sliding past each other, as massive bones adjust against each other within a frame of equally massive muscle. Then a long, heavy sigh. Then silence. It is settled. It is resting. From the slight angle of the stars reflected in a nearby pool of water, and from the general shape of the sounds, you can guess what it is. It is likely a ceratopsian, a triceratops, or one of its close relatives. A creature the size of a modern African elephant, but built very differently. Where an elephant is relatively smooth and rounded, a triceratops is a fortress of bone and muscle. Its most distinctive feature, the enormous bony frill that extends back from its skull like a shield, or the visor of an ancient knight's helmet, is one of the most recognizable shapes in all of paleontology. 3 horns, 2 long ones above the eyes, 1 shorter one on the nose, give it its name, 3-horned face, and behind those horns, a beak. Not a bird's beak, but something similar, a sharp, powerful shearing tool capable of slicing through tough cycad fronds and palm leaves with the efficiency of a pair of industrial hedge clippers. This is not a gentle, slow-moving sauropod. This is a tank. A living, breathing, plant-eating tank. An animal that, when threatened, could lower its head, present a wall of bone 3 feet wide to its attacker, and charge with the combined force of a freight train and a battering ram. Even the most powerful predators of this era would think twice before taking on a fully grown triceratops. The scars found on triceratops frills and on the bones of Tyrannosaurus rex, bite marks that match T-Rex teeth and show signs of healing, tell a violent story of battles between these 2 giants. Horn against teeth, armor against jaws, the ground shaking with the impact. But right now, there is no battle. Right now, there is only rest. The Triceratops has eaten its fill during the day, kilograms upon kilograms of tough, fibrous plant matter that are now being slowly digested in its enormous gut, a fermentation chamber the size of a washing machine, filled with bacteria that break down the cellulose that no other animal can process. The process generates heat, and even in the warm Cretaceous night, you can imagine the creature radiating warmth like a living furnace, a gentle thermal glow in the darkness. Its body temperature drops slightly as it rests, not a full cold-blooded shutdown, but not a warm-blooded mammalian sleep either. Something in between, something uniquely dinosaurian. A state of relaxed alertness, where the body rests, but the ancient instincts remain online, like a computer in sleep mode, ready to boot up in an instant if danger approaches. Listen to it breathe, in and out, in and out. A slow, deep, rhythmic sound. It is almost like the sound of ocean waves breaking on a beach. Regular, hypnotic. Let your own breathing begin to sync with it. Breathe in as the Triceratops breathes in. Breathe out as it breathes out. Slowly, deeply. Feel your chest rise and fall. Feel the tension leaving your shoulders, your arms, your hands. Your fingers uncurl, your jaw loosens, your forehead smooths out. You are breathing with a dinosaur. 66 million years separate you, but right now, in this moment, your breaths are one. And there is a strange, profound peace in that. Minutes pass, maybe hours. In this state, time loses its meaning. The stars wheel slowly overhead. The Southern Cross, visible from this part of the ancient continent of Laramidia, points steadily southward. Constellations that will not have names for another 66 million years shine down on a world that does not yet know what a name is. And then, gradually, so gradually that you barely notice it at first, something changes in the atmosphere. The quality of the darkness shifts. The deepest black of the night begins to soften, to thin, like ink being diluted with water. The stars, which were so blindingly bright just a short while ago, begin to fade, their light overwhelmed by a growing glow on the eastern horizon. Not red, not yet, but a deep, bruised purple, like the color of a plum, slowly spreading upward from the edge of the world. Dawn is coming. And with the first suggestion of light, the world begins to wake up. Not all at once, but in stages, like an orchestra warming up section by section. First, the frogs. Their nighttime chorus, which has been continuous for hours, begins to thin out. One by one, the individuals go silent, retreating to the muddy banks of the swamp, burying themselves in the reeds, pulling their bodies under logs and into the water, hiding from the coming day. Then the crickets. Their rhythmic clicking slows, stutters, and stops, replaced by a few last half-hearted chirps from the most dedicated musicians, and then nothing. The insect chorus of the night folds in on itself and disappears. In its place, a new sound, or rather, a new presence, a feeling as much as a sound, a low, almost subsonic vibration in the air that you feel in your sternum before you hear it with your ears. It is coming from the south, from the open plains beyond the forest edge. It is the sound of many large animals moving. The sun, still hidden below the horizon, begins to paint the sky in earnest now. The purple deepens to violet, then shifts to rose, then to a warm, living gold. The first actual ray of sunlight, not the diffuse glow of dawn, but a true, sharp beam of light, lances over the eastern hills and strikes the upper canopy of the forest. And in that single beam, something extraordinary happens. Millions of tiny water droplets, condensed on the surfaces of leaves and needles overnight, catch the light simultaneously and explode into a shower of tiny rainbows. For a moment, the entire forest looks like it has been decorated with diamonds. It is one of the most beautiful things you have ever seen, and it lasts for only a few seconds before the sun rises higher and the effect dissolves into ordinary daylight. But with the light comes clarity, and with clarity comes the realization of what that subsonic vibration was. They emerge from the tree line like a living tide. First one, then 5, then 20, then too many to count. Hadrosaurs, the duck-billed dinosaurs, the most successful, the most abundant, the most diverse group of large herbivores in the late Cretaceous. And they are moving. There are hundreds of them, perhaps thousands. A migrating herd moving from the inland plains toward the river valley for the dry season. They fill the landscape like bison on the American prairie, like wildebeest on the Serengeti, but larger, so much larger. Each adult animal is 30 to 40 feet long and weighs 3 to 4 tons, roughly the size of a large African elephant. But where an elephant moves with a rolling, ponderous gait, these creatures move with a bizarre, almost comical efficiency. They walk on all fours, but their front legs are slightly shorter than their back legs, giving them a permanent forward tilt, like a person leaning into a strong wind. Their backs are broad and flat, their tails are long and thick, and their heads, oh, their heads are the strangest part. Wide, flattened, elongated, shaped indeed like the bill of a duck, but a duck the size of a motorcycle. These are not beaks made of keratin like a bird's beak. They are sheathed in a tough, horn-like material, and beneath that sheath lie hundreds of small, tightly packed teeth arranged in rows. Not one row, but dozens of rows, forming a single grinding surface that is arguably the most complex chewing mechanism ever evolved by a reptile. This is no simple cropping tool. This is a food processor, a mill. These animals can take the toughest, most fibrous plant material on Earth, conifer needles, twigs, bark, rotten wood, and grind it into a fine paste with an efficiency that puts modern cattle to shame. The herd moves with a rhythm that is almost musical. The ground trembles continuously under their combined weight, not with the dramatic individual thuds of the sauropod we watched last night, but with a continuous, rolling vibration, like a low earthquake that never quite builds to a climax. Thrum, thrum, thrum. It is the sound of 10,000 feet hitting the earth in a staggered, rolling pattern, each animal slightly out of phase with its neighbors, creating a wave of percussion that rolls across the plain like the sound of distant thunder that never stops. And they are vocal. My God, they are vocal. The sounds they make are extraordinary, unlike anything you have ever heard because nothing like them exists today. There are no vocal cords in a hadrosaur's throat, at least not in the way we understand them. But many of them, perhaps the ones we are looking at, which seem to belong to the group called Lambeosaurines, possess something even more remarkable. On top of their heads, they carry crests. Elaborate, hollow, bony crests that rise from the back of the skull in fantastic shapes. Some like tubes, some like hatchets, some like the curved blade of a Roman helmet. And these crests are not decorative. They are musical instruments. Inside each crest is a complex network of winding passages and chambers connected to the nasal cavity. When the animal exhales, air is forced through these passages, and the crest acts as a resonating chamber, amplifying and modifying the sound. The result is a low, haunting, trumpeting call, something between a French horn, a didgeridoo, and the call of a modern elk, but deeper, louder, and carried for miles across the open landscape. And within the herd, there is order. Not rigid military order, but a loose, flowing social structure. The largest adults, the matriarchs perhaps, lead the way, choosing the direction, setting the pace. Behind them, the younger adults follow in loose clusters, constantly calling to each other, maintaining contact. And in the very center of the herd, protected on all sides by a wall of massive bodies, are the young, the juveniles, the calves. Dozens of them. Some are tiny, no bigger than a golden retriever, stumbling on disproportionately long legs, their crests barely visible as small bumps on their foreheads. They stick close to their mothers, darting between the legs of the adults, occasionally getting nudged aside by a careless foot and quickly scrambling back to safety. Others are older, half-grown, the size of a small car, more confident but still staying near the center of the herd. They are playing. Yes, playing. Two half-grown hadrosaurs are circling each other, heads low, mock butting, then breaking apart and galloping. Actually galloping, a strange, rocking horse gait that looks absurd but covers ground surprisingly fast before returning to their mother's sides. There is joy here. Simple, uncomplicated, prehistoric joy. The joy of a young animal with a full belly, a warm sun on its back, and the safety of 1,000 mothers between it and anything that might want to hurt it. It is the same joy you see in a puppy chasing a ball, in a kitten batting at a string, in a child running through a sprinkler on a summer afternoon. It is the joy of life itself, expressed in its purest form, unburdened by thought, unclouded by anxiety. And watching it, you feel something warm bloom in your chest, something you haven't felt in a long time, a simple, uncomplicated happiness, a reminder that the universe is not just a cold, mechanical place. It is also a place where baby dinosaurs play in the morning sun. And that is enough. That is more than enough. Let the herd pass. They are heading north, toward the river. The ground continues to tremble for long minutes after the last stragglers have gone by, the vibrations slowly dying away, like the ringing of a bell after it has been struck. And in the silence that follows, you become aware of a new sound, a different kind of sound. Silence, but a loaded silence, a silence that feels like the held breath before a scream. Something is wrong. The insects have stopped. The birds, small feathered dinosaurs that flit through the canopy, descendants of the raptors of an earlier age, have gone quiet. The forest, which was a cacophony of morning sounds just moments ago, is suddenly unnervingly still. Even the hadrosaur herd, now a quarter-mile away, seems to have quieted its calls. And then you feel it. Not hear it. Feel it. A vibration in the ground. Not the rolling, continuous tremor of the herd. This is different. This is rhythmic, deliberate, heavy, and it is coming closer. Each impact is sharper than the sauropod's footsteps, more purposeful, more dangerous. There is a weight behind each step that speaks not of gentle grazing, but of controlled power, of a predator that knows exactly where it is going and what it is doing. The footsteps stop, the silence deepens, and from somewhere in the dense forest to your left, no more than 100 meters away, comes a sound that makes the ancient mammal inside you, the one that has been sleeping peacefully in its burrow all night, bolt upright in absolute primal terror. It is a breathing sound, but not the slow, rhythmic breathing of the resting triceratops. This is fast, short, agitated, like a large dog panting after a run, but deeper, wetter, more guttural. You can hear the air being pulled in through a broad nose, pulled past rows of teeth, pulled into lungs the size of oil drums, and then pushed out again. And beneath the breathing, almost inaudible, a sound that is not a sound at all but a feeling, a low, subsonic growl that exists at the very edge of human hearing, a vibration that you feel in your back teeth, in the base of your skull, in the marrow of your bones. It is the sound of a large predator announcing its presence, not to prey, but to other predators. A warning, a declaration. This is my territory. This is my kill. Come closer, and I will tear you apart. You know what this is. Even before you see it, you know. Every cell in your body knows. It is written into your DNA, into the deepest, oldest layers of your brain. The reptilian brain, the part that hasn't changed in 300 million years. It is the recognition of the apex predator, the top of the food chain, the king. Step out from behind the ferns, just a mental step, just a shift of your attention, and look toward the source of the sound. There, in a small clearing in the forest, where a gap in the canopy allows a shaft of morning sunlight to fall like a spotlight on the forest floor, stands the most famous predator that has ever lived. Tyrannosaurus rex. The name means Tyrant Lizard King, and standing here, in the flesh, in the morning light of the Cretaceous, you understand, with a clarity that no museum skeleton could ever convey, that the name is not an exaggeration. It is an understatement. It is enormous, larger than you imagined, larger than any reconstruction, any movie, any book has ever prepared you for. It stands roughly 12 feet tall at the hip, not the top of the back, the hip, and its head, when held horizontally as it is now, is about 15 feet off the ground. From the tip of its nose to the end of its tail, it is perhaps 40 feet long. And it is not the lean, streamlined killing machine that old illustrations portrayed. It is massive, barrel-chested, thick-necked. Its body has a solidity to it, a density, like a wrestler or a heavyweight boxer, all compressed muscle and heavy bone. It weighs 9 tons. 9 tons of muscle, teeth, and controlled, intelligent fury. Look at its head. That is where the true horror and the true magnificence lies. The head of a T-Rex is wider than the chest of a large man. It is a rectangular block of bone, heavily built, with thick ridges above the eyes that give it a permanent, glowering expression, like a permanent scowl etched in stone. The eyes, oh, the eyes. They are forward-facing, binocular, giving this creature depth perception as good as a hawk's. And they are large. Proportionally, the eyes of a T-Rex are among the largest of any land animal ever known. They are yellow, a hard, cold, amber yellow, like the eyes of an eagle, like the eyes of a wolf, like the eyes of something that does not negotiate, does not compromise, does not feel mercy. Right now, in the morning light, those eyes are fixed on something in the distance. The hadrosaur herd, specifically on a young, sickly individual that is lagging behind the main group. The T-Rex is not looking at the herd. It is looking at a single individual. It has already chosen its target. The decision was made in a fraction of a second, processed by a brain that, while not large in absolute terms, is densely packed with olfactory bulbs, the parts of the brain dedicated to smell, that are the largest of any known dinosaur. This animal can smell blood from miles away. It can smell fear. It can smell the difference between a healthy animal and a sick one. It is a biological killing machine, refined by 150 million years of evolution, and it is operating at peak efficiency. And then there are the teeth. Even from this distance, even with the mouth partially closed, you can see them. They protrude from the closed jaws like the blades of a pocket knife, visible even when the animal is not actively biting. This is not a bug, it is a feature. The teeth of a T-Rex are not flat and bladed, like a shark's. They are not designed for slicing. They are thick, deeply rooted, slightly curved inward, and they have the cross-sectional shape of a banana. They are designed for one thing and one thing only: crushing bone. When a T-Rex bites down, its jaws, powered by some of the most powerful muscles ever to exist in a terrestrial animal, generate a force of approximately 12,000 pounds per square inch at the tip of each tooth. To put that in perspective, that is enough force to crush a small car. It is enough to shatter the femur of a triceratops, one of the most heavily built animals ever to walk the earth, in a single bite. It is a bite force that no living land animal even comes close to matching. It is, arguably, the most destructive bite in the history of life on this planet. But here is the thing. Here is the detail that the movies always get wrong. The detail that makes this creature so much more frightening and so much more impressive than any Hollywood monster. It is not behaving like a monster. It is not roaring. It is not charging blindly. It is not thrashing and destroying everything in its path. It is doing something far more terrifying. It is waiting. The T-Rex stands absolutely still in that shaft of sunlight. Its breathing has slowed. Its body is motionless, except for the slight, almost imperceptible movement of its head as it tracks the lagging hadrosaur. Its tail, which is massive, a counterbalance to the enormous head held rigid and straight behind the body for balance, does not twitch. Its eyes do not blink. It is a statue. A 9-ton statue made of muscle and teeth and ancient calculating intelligence. And it is waiting for the perfect moment. Because T-Rex was not a pursuit predator. It was an ambush hunter. Those massive legs, the hind limbs of a T-Rex, are powerfully built, with enormous thigh muscles and long, 3-toed feet tipped with cruel, curved claws, are capable of surprising bursts of speed. Estimates vary, but a conservative estimate puts the top speed of a T-Rex at around 20 to 25 miles per hour. Not fast enough to chase down a healthy adult hadrosaur over a long distance, but fast enough, more than fast enough, to close a short gap in a devastating, explosive rush. The strategy is simple. Remain hidden. Let the prey come close. Choose the weakest individual. And then, in a burst of acceleration that shakes the ground, cover the distance in seconds and deliver a single, catastrophic bite. The hadrosaur is limping. You can see it now. Even from this distance, you can see that its left rear leg is not bearing weight properly. Perhaps an old injury. Perhaps an infection. Perhaps something stepped on it during the night. Whatever the cause, it is falling behind. The rest of the herd has moved on, crossing the shallow river now, their bodies glistening with water, their crests trumpeting. But the limping one is still on this side of the river, alone, vulnerable, visible. The T-Rex takes one step, just one, forward, silent. Its massive foot, a foot that could crush a human torso to paste, comes down on a bed of ferns with a delicacy that is almost surgical. No sound, no movement of the surrounding vegetation. This is a predator that knows how to move, that knows that sound is the enemy, that knows that patience is the greatest weapon in its arsenal. Another step, closer. The distance between predator and prey is closing, but so slowly, so subtly, that the injured hadrosaur, its head down, grazing nervously on the riverbank, has no idea. It flicks its tail occasionally. It takes a stumbling step forward. It pauses to look at the river, at its retreating herd mates on the far bank. It lets out a soft, lonely call. Woon? No answer. The herd has moved on. It is alone. 30 meters now. 25, 20. The T-Rex freezes. Every muscle in its body locks. Its eyes narrow. Its head drops slightly, bringing those terrible jaws into alignment with the hadrosaur's vulnerable flank. The tail shifts almost imperceptibly, transferring weight to the hind legs, coiling the springs. 15 meters. The hadrosaur looks up. Something has caught its attention. Maybe a shift in the wind, maybe a shadow, maybe just that ancient, unerring instinct that all prey animals possess, the one that whispers, "Run," a fraction of a second before the danger becomes visible. Its eyes widen, its body tenses. It turns its head toward the forest, and the T-Rex explodes from the trees. It is not a graceful movement. It is not the smooth, flowing sprint of a cheetah. It is violence incarnate. 9 tons of flesh and bone accelerating from a standing start to full speed in less than 2 seconds. The ground erupting under its feet. Ferns and small bushes being obliterated by the shock wave of its passage. A deep, earth-shaking boom, boom, boom of footfalls that is less like running and more like controlled demolition. And with the charge comes a sound that you feel in your internal organs, a sound that bypasses your ears entirely and goes straight to the oldest, most primitive part of your brain, a roar. Not the theatrical, drawn-out roar of Jurassic Park, a real roar. A short, explosive, deafening bark of sound, like a cannon shot mixed with the scream of a large cat. A sound designed to freeze prey for just a fraction of a second, to cause a momentary paralysis of terror that gives the predator those crucial extra inches of closing distance. The hadrosaur freezes, just for a heartbeat, just for a fraction of a second, but that is enough. The T-Rex reaches it in 3 strides. Its massive head swings forward and down, those banana-sized teeth parting at the last instant to reveal the pink, glistening interior of the mouth, the tongue, the throat. And then the jaws close. The sound of the bite is wet, a thick, crunching, squelching sound, like a watermelon being dropped from a height onto concrete, mixed with the sharp crack of breaking bone. The hadrosaur screams, a single, high-pitched, agonizing shriek that cuts through the morning air like a knife, and then the scream is cut off as the T-Rex adjusts its grip, shifting its jaws, and the sound becomes a gurgling, choking gasp. The hadrosaur goes down. Not slowly, not gradually, but instantly, as if its legs have been cut out from under it. The T-Rex's bite has landed on the lower back, just above the pelvis, and the force of the impact, not just the bite, but the momentum of 9 tons of moving animal hitting a 4-ton target, has shattered the hadrosaur's spine. It is paralyzed from the waist down. It falls onto its side, its legs kicking uselessly, its head thrashing, its eyes wide with a terror so absolute, so complete, that it is almost abstract. This is the part where I should tell you to look away. This is the part where the comfortable, safe distance of a documentary should pull back, should fade to black, should spare you the details. But we are not watching a documentary, we are watching reality. This is what life was, 66 million years ago. Not sanitized, not dramatized, real. And the reality of a T-Rex feeding is not pretty. It is not noble. It is not the glorious cinematic clash of titans. It is messy and brutal and raw and profoundly, fundamentally unfair. The T-Rex does not kill quickly. It does not need to. Its prey is paralyzed, helpless, and the predator has no concept of mercy, not because it is evil, but because mercy is a human invention, a luxury of a species that has removed itself from the food chain. The T-Rex is not evil. It is not cruel. It is hungry, and it is eating. The teeth do their work with horrifying efficiency. Each bite removes a chunk of flesh the size of a basketball. The bone-crushing force of the jaws means that nothing is spared. Muscle, tendon, skin, and bone are all pulverized and swallowed together. The T-Rex does not chew. It does not need to. Its stomach is a cauldron of hydrochloric acid and digestive enzymes capable of dissolving bone, and it swallows everything whole in enormous bloody gobbets that slide down its thick throat with visible convulsive swallows. The ground around the carcass is being painted red. The flies, ancient iridescent green and blue flies, larger than their modern descendants, are already gathering, drawn by the scent of blood, settling on the carcass in buzzing, crawling swarms. The air around the kill is thick with the copper-iron smell of fresh blood, mixed with the sharp, acrid tang of the T-Rex's breath, the breath of a carnivore. Not unpleasant in the way that rotting meat is unpleasant, but sharp, raw, primal, like the smell of a newly killed fish on a cold beach. The hadrosaur is still alive. Its eyes are still open. Its breathing is shallow, rapid, labored. It cannot feel its body anymore. The spine is severed. But it is conscious, aware, watching with those dark, liquid eyes as its own body is consumed, piece by piece. It is, without question, one of the most horrific things you have ever witnessed. And yet, watch the T-Rex's face. Not the jaws, the eyes. Look at the eyes. They are not angry. They are not excited. They are not savoring the kill. They are focused, calm, almost meditative. The T-Rex is not a psychotic murder machine. It is an animal doing what animals do. It is eating a meal. For it, this is no different from you eating a sandwich at your desk. There is no malice. There is no cruelty. There is only biology. The relentless, amoral, breathtakingly efficient machinery of life consuming life in order to sustain life. The hadrosaur dies so that the T-Rex can live. The plants that the hadrosaur ate died so that the hadrosaur could live. The sun that fed the plants sends its energy down a chain of consumption that ends here, on this blood-soaked riverbank, in the jaws of the largest terrestrial predator that has ever existed. It is the cycle, the oldest cycle, the only cycle that matters. Within 5 minutes it is over. The hadrosaur's eyes glaze, the shallow breathing stops, the body goes limp. The T-Rex has eaten perhaps a quarter of the carcass, the most nutrient-rich parts, the internal organs, the major muscle groups of the hind legs, the fatty tissue around the tail base. It will not eat the rest now. It is full. A single large meal can sustain a T-Rex for days, even weeks, thanks to a metabolism that, while warmer and faster than that of a typical reptile, is still considerably slower than that of a mammal of similar size. This animal will not need to hunt again for at least a week, perhaps longer. It steps back from the carcass. Its muzzle is slick with blood and gore. It stands for a moment, breathing deeply, its massive chest expanding and contracting. And then it does something unexpected, something that changes everything you thought you knew about this creature. It lifts its head, not to look for more prey, not to scan for danger. It lifts its head toward the forest, toward a dense thicket of cycads about 50 meters away, and it makes a sound, a soft sound, a low, gentle, rumbling grunt. Not a roar, not a bark, a grunt, a a sound that a mother might make to a child, a sound that says, "Come here, it's safe, I have food." And from the thicket, a small shape emerges. It is young, perhaps 2 or 3 years old. It stands about as tall as a human adult, but it is long and lanky, all legs and neck, like an adolescent dog that hasn't grown into its paws. Its proportions are different from the adult. Its head is larger relative to its body, its legs are longer and thinner, its overall build is lighter, more graceful. It is covered in a coat of fine, downy feathers, not the bright, iridescent plumage of a bird, but a simple, insulating layer of fuzz, like the down on a baby chick, but darker, a mottled brown and gray that provides camouflage in the forest undergrowth. Its eyes are large and round and curious, not yet hardened into the cold, calculating stare of the adult. They are the eyes of a teenager, a young, naive, hungry teenager. It approaches the carcass hesitantly, stopping every few steps to look at the adult, as if asking permission. The adult stands to one side, its bloody muzzle dripping, and watches. There is no aggression, no dominance display, there is only patience. And when the juvenile reaches the carcass, it bends its slender head and begins to eat. Daintily, carefully, pulling small strips of meat from the carcass with its own smaller teeth. Teeth that are already formidable, but lack the bone-crushing power of the adults, and chewing them with visible relish. The adult watches. And for a moment, just a moment, the morning sunlight catches its amber eyes, and you see something in them that you did not expect. Not cruelty, not hunger, not the cold calculus of the apex predator. You see tenderness, a fierce, ancient, unshakable tenderness. This is not a random encounter. This is a mother and her child. The T-Rex, the most feared animal in the history of the earth, is a parent. She has brought her offspring to a kill, is allowing it to eat first from the richest parts of the carcass, and is standing guard over it with the same quiet, unwavering devotion that any mother of any species, anywhere in the universe, would recognize. This changes everything. Suddenly, the T-Rex is not a monster. It is not a killing machine. It is a mother. It is an animal with a life, with relationships, with duties, with loves. The young one is dependent on her for food, for protection, for teaching. She will spend the next several years, raising this child, protecting it from other predators. Yes, even a T-Rex has predators. Not adults, but other T-Rex adults, large males that would kill and eat a juvenile if given the chance. Teaching it how to hunt, how to navigate the complex social hierarchy of its own species, how to survive in a world that is beautiful and brutal in equal measure. And this is the great hidden truth about dinosaurs that our modern imagination so often forgets. We are so fixated on their size, their teeth, their violence, that we forget they were not movie monsters. They were animals. Complete, complex, deeply alive animals with social structures, with family bonds, with personalities, with fears, with joys, with griefs. They played, they fought, they loved, they mourned. We know this from the fossil record, from bone beds where entire herds died together, from fossils of dinosaurs that were clearly sick or injured, but survived for months or years, which implies care from others, from the simple, undeniable fact that any animal that raises its young must have, at minimum, the capacity for attachment. And attachment is just another word for love. Watch them for a while. The mother and her child. The child eats, pulling strips of meat from the carcass with growing confidence, occasionally looking up at its mother for reassurance. She gives it. A low grunt, a slight shift of her body that brings her closer, a brief touch of her massive muzzle against the child's feathered back, a nuzzle, a prehistoric kiss. The most dangerous animal on the planet, nuzzling her baby in the morning sun. The warmth you feel in your chest now is not just imagination, it is recognition. You are recognizing yourself in this creature. You are recognizing the universal, cross-species, cross-era truth that a mother's love is the oldest force in the universe. Older than the stars, older than the earth. It was here in the Cretaceous, and it was here 100 million years before the Cretaceous, and it will be here 100 million years after we are gone. It is the one thing that the darkness cannot touch. The morning is fully established now. The sun is climbing, the light is bright and warm, the shadows are shortening. The T-Rex and her child will stay near the carcass for most of the day, resting, digesting, returning to feed periodically as hunger demands. By tomorrow, the carcass will be reduced to bones and scattered scraps, and the scavengers, smaller theropods, pterosaurs, ancient crocodilians, will fight over the remains. By next week, even the bones will be gone, scattered, broken, buried in mud and sediment, beginning the long, slow process of fossilization that, if they are lucky, astronomically improbably lucky, will preserve them for 66 million years, until a creature with a strange, flat face and an even stranger brain digs them up and puts them in a museum, and tries to imagine what the world was like when they were alive. But that is a story for another time. For now, the day is beginning, and the Cretaceous world is fully awake. In the canopy above, the small feathered dinosaurs, the early birds, are singing. Not the melodious songs of modern songbirds, but simpler calls. Chirps, whistles, trills, the primitive building blocks of avian music that will, in 66 million years, evolve into the dawn chorus you hear outside your window every morning. But the seeds of that chorus are here. They are being sung right now by creatures with teeth and clawed wings and long, bony tails. Creatures that look more like small, feathery dragons than anything you would call a bird. but they are singing, and the sound is beautiful. Let's leave the kill site. Let's move away from the blood and the flies and the raw reality of death, and move toward the river. The same river the sauropods were heading toward last night, the same river the hadrosaur herd has just crossed. It is a wide, slow, muddy river meandering through the floodplain in great looping curves, bordered on both sides by dense stands of bamboo-like plants and tall, graceful conifers. The water is brown with sediment, but clear near the edges, where the current slows and sandbars form. And on those sandbars, in the morning sun, lie the sauropods, the family we watched last night. They have made it to the river. They are resting now, standing in the shallow water, their massive bodies half submerged. The water comes up to their bellies, cooling them, relieving the weight from their legs, providing a soothing, gentle pressure against their skin. Their long necks are draped over their backs in relaxed S-curves, their heads resting on the sand or on each other's bodies. Their eyes are half closed. They are dozing, sleeping standing up, the way horses do, their legs locked in position by a system of tendons and ligaments that requires no conscious muscular effort. Even in sleep, even in this most vulnerable of states, they look impregnable. Who would attack them? What predator, no matter how large or hungry, would voluntarily take on an animal that could crush it underfoot with a single misstep? The smallest member of the group, the juvenile, the one that was bumping against its mother's thigh last night, is more fully submerged. Only its head and the upper part of its neck are above water. It is playing. It is blowing bubbles. It submerges its head completely, holds it underwater for a few seconds, then lifts it, shaking its small head and snorting water from its nostrils in a spray of droplets that catches the sunlight and creates a tiny, momentary rainbow. Then it does it again, and again, and again. A baby dinosaur, playing in the water, making rainbows. If you saw this in a movie, you would say it was too cute to be realistic. But this is not a movie. This is reality. This is what the world was like 66 million years ago. A world of monsters, yes, but also a world of bubble-blowing babies and rainbow-making splashes and mothers who stand guard while their children play. The surface of the river is not still. It is alive with movement. Fish, ancient fish, with heavy scales and primitive jaws, the descendants of creatures that survived the Great Extinction at the end of the Permian 200 million years earlier, dart through the murky water, occasionally breaking the surface with a silver flash. Turtles, not modern turtles but their close relatives, with shells that look like small armored cars, bask on fallen logs at the water's edge, their necks stretched out, their eyes closed, absorbing the morning warmth. And in the deeper water, barely visible as dark, moving shadows, something larger lurks. Crocodilians. Not the modern Nile crocodile or saltwater crocodile, but their Cretaceous cousins. Deinosuchus, perhaps, or something like it. A creature as long as a city bus, with a skull the size of a dining table and a bite force that rivaled the T-Rex's. But they are passive now, resting in the warm water, digesting their own meals, waiting for night. The river is their domain, just as the forest is the domain of the T-Rex, and the plains are the domain of the hadrosaurs. Every inch of this world is claimed, owned, patrolled. There are no empty spaces. There is no wilderness in the modern sense of untamed land. Everything is tame, tamed by the creatures that live there, who know every waterhole, every trail, every hiding place, every source of food and every source of danger. This is a occupied world, as thoroughly mapped and understood by its inhabitants as any modern city is by its residents. We have been here for hours now, or what feels like hours. Time moves differently in the Mesozoic. Without clocks, without schedules, without the artificial urgency of modern life, time simply flows. Like the river, like the wind through the ginkgo leaves. There is only now, this moment, this breath, this heartbeat, and the next one, and the next one. The sun is high now. The day is warm, hot even by our standards, but not oppressively so. The humidity keeps the temperature bearable, and a gentle breeze from the river carries the cool scent of water across the floodplain. The forest is alive with the sounds of a world at full activity, the constant drone of insects, the calls of birds and small reptiles, the distant trumpeting of the hadrosaur herd, now far to the north, a faint, ghostly sound on the edge of hearing, the occasional crash of a large animal moving through the undergrowth. It is a symphony. Not a symphony of individual instruments, but a symphony of life itself. A continuous, ever-changing, never-repeating composition that has been playing on this planet for 4 billion years and will continue playing long after the last human ear has heard it. And you are part of it. Right now, in this moment, in your imagination, in your dreaming mind, you are part of that symphony. Your breath is synchronized with the breath of a triceratops. Your heartbeat is keeping time with the footsteps of a sauropod. Your eyes are seeing the same sun that a mother T-Rex saw as she watched her child eat. You are connected. Connected to this world, connected to these creatures, connected to the deep, unbroken chain of life that stretches from the first single-celled organism in the primordial ocean to you, lying in your bed, listening to a story about dinosaurs. That chain has never been broken. Not once. In 4 billion years, through asteroid impacts and volcanic eruptions and ice ages and continental drift and mass extinctions that wiped out 95% of all life on Earth, the chain held. It bent. It thinned. It was stretched to the absolute limit of what biology can endure. But it never broke. And here you are, the latest link, the current manifestation of a miracle that has been going on for longer than the human mind can genuinely comprehend. You are not separate from the dinosaurs. You are their heir. You carry their legacy in your bones, in your blood, in the ancient reptilian structures of your brain that still flash awake when you hear a sound in the dark, that still flood your body with adrenaline when you feel threatened, that still whisper the same primordial warning that the little mammal in her burrow heard 66 million years ago. Be careful. Be quiet. Stay alive. But you don't need to be careful right now. You don't need to be quiet. You don't need to stay awake, because you are safe. You are in your burrow. You are in your bed. You are warm and comfortable and protected, and the night, your night, the modern night, with its silence and its softness and its gentle darkness, is wrapping around you like a blanket. The Mesozoic sun is setting again in our imagined world. The long Cretaceous day, a day that has lasted in the real world only the span of a few pages, but in the world of your dreaming mind has lasted a lifetime, is coming to an end. The sky is turning those same incredible colors, the deep purples, the burning oranges, the blood reds. The hadrosaur herd has settled in a broad valley to the north, a sea of resting bodies, their crests silent now, their young nestled among them. The T-Rex and her child have moved away from the stripped carcass and found a sheltered spot beneath a massive fallen tree, where the child is curled against its mother's flank, buried in the warmth of her body, its feathered coat rising and falling with each slow breath. The mother's eyes are open. They will stay open for much of the night, alert for danger. But her body is relaxed, her breathing is deep, and in the amber depths of those ancient eyes, if you look very closely, you can see the reflection of the first stars appearing in the darkening sky. The Triceratops in the fern thicket has not moved. It is still there, a dark, rounded shape in the shadows, its three horns catching the last light of the setting sun like golden spears. It has spent the day doing what Triceratops do: eating, walking, resting, eating again. A simple life, a good life. And now it is settling in for another night, its great body radiating warmth, its slow breathing a metronome of peace. The sauropods are still in the river, their silhouettes dark against the orange water, their long necks moving slowly, dreamily, like the tentacles of some enormous, gentle sea creature. One of them, the juvenile, is still awake, still blowing occasional bubbles, still making the occasional splash. But even it is tiring now. The bubbles come less frequently. The splashes are smaller. Soon, it too will sleep. Its head resting on the sandy riverbed, its body rising and falling with the gentle current. And the little mammal, your ancestor, has emerged from her burrow once more. The night is her time. She scurries along the forest floor, her tiny paws silent on the moist earth, her whiskers twitching, her eyes bright and alert. She finds a seed. She finds a beetle. She finds a puddle and takes a quick, nervous drink, her eyes darting left and right the entire time. She is alive. She is surviving. And somewhere, deep in the future, a future so distant that even the stars will have changed their positions, one of her descendants will lie in a bed, in a house, in a city, on a planet that she could not possibly imagine, and listen to a story about the world she lived in. That descendant is you. And now it is time to go back. Our journey is ending. The time machine is waiting, patient and still, ready to carry you forward through the 66 million years that separate this world from yours. But we will not rush. We will not leap. We will drift as gently as we came. The years will begin to flow forward again, slowly at first, then faster. The Cretaceous will give way to the Paleocene. The dinosaurs will vanish, not gradually, not gently, but in a single cataclysmic instant, when a rock the size of a mountain falls from the sky and turns the world inside out. The forests will burn, the seas will boil, the sky will go dark for years, and the giants, the sauropods, the hadrosaurs, the triceratops, even the mighty T-Rex, will fall. All of them, every single one. In a geological instant, the greatest dynasty in the history of life on Earth will end. But the chain will not break. Remember the mammal, the little one in the burrow. She will survive. She and her kind will crawl out of their burrows into a shattered, devastated world. A world of ash and darkness and silence, and they will begin again. Slowly, quietly, invisibly. They will eat the dead things. They will eat the rotting things. They will eat each other, and they will survive. Because that is what they have always done. That is what they are built for. Not glory, not dominance. Just survival. Just the quiet, relentless, unsentimental persistence of life, clinging to the surface of a wounded planet with tiny claws and trembling hearts and the stubborn, irrational refusal to die. And from those survivors, over millions of years, will come new worlds, new creatures, new forests and new oceans and new skies. And eventually, after an almost incomprehensible span of time, will come us. humans, the creatures that build cities and write poetry, and compose symphonies, and launch rockets into space, and lie in bed at night and tell stories about dinosaurs. We are the children of the survivors. We carry their resilience in our bones. So as you drift off to sleep now, as the boundaries between the waking world and the dreaming world begin to blur and dissolve, carry this thought with you. You are the product of 4 billion years of unbroken survival. Every single one of your ancestors, every one, without exception, going all the way back to that first living cell in the ancient ocean, lived long enough to reproduce. Not one of them died before passing on the chain. Through asteroid impacts and ice ages and predation and disease and famine and war and every imaginable horror that this planet has devised, the chain held. And here you are. You have already won. You have already survived. Tonight is not a test. Tonight is a reward, a gift. A quiet, warm, safe space where you can close your eyes and let the world fall away, knowing that you are part of something so much larger, so much older, so much more enduring than the small worries of a single day. Sleep now. Sleep deeply. Sleep peacefully. The T-Rex is standing guard. The Triceratops is breathing slowly. The sauropod is making bubbles in the river. The stars are wheeling overhead, the same stars that watched over this world long before we came.